I want you to act like we're not together at the party tonight. I froze mid-tie, my fingers going numb against the silk. The words hung in the air like smoke, poisonous and deliberate. I looked up at Sophia's reflection in our bedroom mirror. She was applying red lipstick, the expensive kind I'd bought her for our anniversary, and she didn't even glance at me. What did you just say? My voice came out quieter than I intended. She pressed her lips together, examining her work. You heard me, Jason. Just keep your distance tonight. It's complicated. Complicated. 7 years of marriage and now we were complicated. I'm Jason, by the way. Jason Matthews. 32 years old, software consultant, and apparently, as of 30 seconds ago, a husband who needed to pretend he wasn't one. I stood there in our bedroom, the one we'd painted together 3 years ago, arguing about whether Whisper Gray was really different from Silver Mist, and watched my wife prepare to erase me. My grandfather's watch felt heavy on my wrist. He'd given it to me on his deathbed when I was 19, his calloused hand gripping mine. Never let someone make you small, son, he'd whispered. The moment you start shrinking yourself to fit their life, you've already lost. I thought about those words a lot lately. Every time Sophia changed her phone password. Every time she came home from the gym at 11 p.m. smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. Every time she looked at me like I was a roommate instead of her husband. Okay, I said finally. She turned then, surprise flickering across her face. She'd expected a fight. An argument. Some kind of emotional reaction that would make me the bad guy, give her an excuse to storm out and play the victim. But I didn't give her that. I just loosened my tie and nodded. Okay, she repeated. You want distance? I'll give you distance. I walked to the closet and pulled out a jacket. Not the nice one she'd picked out for me last Christmas. The old leather one I'd owned since college, the one she always said made me look too casual. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't say anything. She just grabbed her clutch, the black one with the gold clasp, and checked her phone. I watched her face in the mirror's reflection. The way her lips curved into a smile at whatever message she was reading. The way she angled the screen away from me, like I was a stranger who might invade her privacy. I thought about our wedding day. How she'd cried reading her vows. How she'd promised to choose me every single day for the rest of our lives. I wondered when she'd stop choosing me, or if she ever really had. Ready? I asked. She nodded, dropping her phone into her clutch. As she walked past me toward the door, I caught a whiff of her perfume. Not the one I'd given her. Something new. Something I didn't recognize. I followed her out of our bedroom, and something told me I'd never walk back into it the same man. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos. The drive to the party was 17 minutes of suffocating silence. I kept my eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2, like I was taking a driver's test instead of chauffeuring my wife to whatever the hell this night was about to become. Sophia sat in the passenger seat, bathed in the glow of her phone screen. Her thumbs moved frantically across the keyboard, typing, deleting, typing again. I could see her face in the periphery, that concentrated expression she got when something mattered to her. When I mattered to her, she used to look at me like that. We hit a red light on 5th and Main. The kind of long light that feels like it's giving you time to think whether you want it or not. I glanced right just for a second, and that's when I saw it. Her phone screen reflected perfectly in the passenger window. The message was crystal clear. Can't wait to see you tonight, Fire. The contact name was just a letter. My grip tightened on the steering wheel, but I said nothing. Sophia didn't notice. She was too busy typing back, her lips curved into a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Maybe years. The light turned green. I pressed the accelerator and thought about the last time we'd driven somewhere together in comfortable silence. It was 2 years ago, coming back from her mother's house upstate. We'd held hands across the center console. She'd fallen asleep with her head tilted toward me, trusting. Say, I wondered who H was. Henry, probably. Henry Castellano. I'd heard her mention him exactly 3 times in the past 3 months, always with the same dismissive tone. Just a colleague, she'd said. Networking opportunity. But colleagues don't send fire emojis at 8:30 on a Friday night. I'd met Henry once, briefly, at a charity fundraiser Sophia had dragged me to 4 months ago. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. He'd shaken my hand with a grip that lasted 1 second too long, looking at me like he was assessing livestock. So you're the husband, he'd said, and somehow made it sound like an accusation. Sophia had laughed it off. Told me I was being paranoid when I mentioned how uncomfortable he'd made me feel. He's just confident, Jason. Not everyone's threatened by successful people. The implication hung there, that I was threatened. That I was small. We pulled up to the venue, a renovated loft in the Arts District, all exposed brick and pretentious lighting. I could see people through the floor-to-ceiling windows, champagne glasses catching the light, everyone dressed like they were auditioning for a lifestyle magazine. I put the car in park but didn't turn off the engine. Sophia checked her makeup one final time in the visor mirror, that red lipstick perfect and sharp. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. I'd just forgotten that beauty could be cruel. "Pick me up at midnight?" she asked, her hand already on the door handle. I stared straight ahead at the brick wall across the street. Someone had spray-painted, "You are enough," in blue letters. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Sure," I said. She hesitated for just a moment and I could feel her looking at me. Maybe expecting me to ask questions. To beg her to explain. To fight for whatever this was. But I didn't turn my head. I just waited. She got out, closed the door with a soft click and started walking toward the entrance. I watched her in the rearview mirror, counting her steps. 1, 2, 3. At step 10 she turned around. Our eyes met in the mirror. Her face flickered with something, doubt maybe, or regret. But then someone called her name from the entrance, and whatever moment we might have had evaporated. She turned back around, shoulders straightening, and disappeared into the party. I sat there for another 30 seconds, engine running, heat blasting, watching the spot where she'd vanished. Then I put the car in drive and went home. Alone. I stood in the doorway of our apartment and just stared. 7 years of shared life spread out before me like evidence at a crime scene. The throw pillows Sophia had insisted we needed, they tie the room together Jason, were arranged perfectly on the couch. Her coffee mug sat on the counter from this morning, lipstick stain on the rim. The photo wall we'd spent an entire Sunday creating, arguing about whether chronological order mattered. It all felt like a museum now. A collection of artifacts from a marriage that had died without me noticing when the funeral was. I walked to our bedroom and pulled out the duffel bag from the top shelf of the closet. The same one I'd used when we first moved in together, back when we were 23 and stupid in love and thought we could survive on ramen and hope. Dust came off it in a small cloud. I'd never needed it. Never had a reason to leave. Until tonight. I packed methodically. Clothes first, a week's worth maybe more. Underwear, socks, the jeans Sophia hated because they were too worn. My laptop and charger. The external hard drive with all my project files. Toothbrush, deodorant, the prescription glasses I barely wore. I moved through the apartment like I was checking items off a list, mechanical and efficient. My grandfather's watch went into the front pocket of the bag, wrapped in a sock for protection. I thought about him as I zipped it closed. Robert Matthews, the man who'd raised me after my father decided being a parent was too hard and left when I was 8. My grandfather had taught me about integrity, about self-respect, about knowing your worth. A man who doesn't respect himself can't expect anyone else to, he told me once, sitting on his porch while I nursed a broken heart from some high school girlfriend. And a man who lets someone treat him like he's disposable? He's already given up on himself. I'd been giving up on myself for a while now. I could see it clearly standing in this bedroom with a packed bag at my feet. Every time I'd ignored Sophia's late nights. Every time I'd pretended not to notice her phone screen angling away from me. Every time I'd made myself smaller, quieter, less present, hoping that if I took up less space, she'd have room to love me again. I walked to the nightstand and picked up our wedding photo. We looked so young. Sophia's smile was genuine, reaching her eyes, crinkling the corners. My arm was around her waist, pulling her close, like I was afraid she might float away if I didn't hold on tight enough. Turned out I was right to be afraid. I just held on to the wrong thing. Should have held on to myself. I set the photo face down and walked away. In the kitchen, I grabbed a sticky note from the drawer where we kept all the junk, takeout menus, dead batteries, twist ties we'd never use. My hand hovered over the paper for a moment before I wrote, "You wanted distance. You got it. Don't call me. Jay." I stuck it to the fridge, right next to the grocery list in her handwriting. Milk, eggs, coffee, the organic kind that cost twice as much. I wondered if she'd even notice I was gone before she noticed we were out of milk. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, already knowing who it was. Sophia, having fun. Face blowing a kiss. I read it 3 times. The casual cruelty of it hit me harder than if she'd sent something mean. She was at a party where she'd asked me to pretend we weren't married, probably standing next to H right now, and she was texting me emoji kisses like everything was normal. Like I was a good little husband waiting at home for her to finish playing whatever game this was. I opened her contact. My finger hovered over her name, Sophia Redheart, with the heart emoji I'd added 6 years ago and never updated. I tapped it, scrolled down, and blocked her number. Then I blocked her on every platform I could think of. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn for good measure. My hands didn't shake. I thought they might, but they were steady. Certain. I picked up my duffel bag, took one last look at the apartment, at the life I'd built with someone who'd decided I wasn't worth keeping, and walked out. The door locked behind me with a click that sounded final. I drove to a budget hotel on the outskirts of town, the kind with flickering neon signs and coin-operated ice machines. The clerk didn't ask questions when I paid cash for 3 nights. Just handed me a key attached to a plastic diamond-shaped tag and pointed toward the stairs. Room 214 smelled like industrial cleaner and old cigarettes, but it was mine. No one else's expectations lived here. No one else's disappointments. Just me and a duffel bag and the creeping realization that I'd just blown up my entire life. I sat on the edge of the bed, springs creaking under my weight, and waited to feel something. Regret, maybe. Panic. The urge to call her and take it all back. But all I felt was tired. So incredibly tired. And underneath that, something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. I didn't know what was happening at the party. I was staring at a water stain on the hotel ceiling, trying to decide if it looked more like a dog or a cloud, when the truth was being revealed 3 miles away. I wouldn't find out until later, but this is what happened. Amanda Chin, Sophia's college roommate and one of the few people from her life who'd ever treated me like I mattered, arrived at the party at 9:15. She'd worn her black dress, the conservative one, because these networking events made her uncomfortable. She told me once, over coffee when Sophia was in the bathroom, that she didn't understand the person her friend was becoming. The Sophia I knew in college wanted to change the world, Amanda had said. This version wants to be photographed in it. Amanda grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and positioned herself near the back of the room, already planning her exit. That's when she saw Sophia arrive. Sophia made an entrance. That's the only way to describe it. She paused in the doorway just long enough for people to notice, then glided into the room like she was walking a runway. Her red dress caught the light. So did her smile, bright, practiced, and aimed directly at a man standing near the bar. Henry Castellano. Silver hair perfectly styled, charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary, holding court with a group of people who hung on his every word. He was 38 but carried himself like someone who'd never questioned his place in the world. Old money. New arrogance. Amanda watched as Sophia approached him. Watched as Henry's eyes traveled down Sophia's body with the kind of ownership that made Amanda's skin crawl. Watched as Sophia touched his arm, laughed too loudly at something he said, leaned in too close. "Where's Jason?" Amanda heard someone ask Sophia. Sophia waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, he couldn't make it. Work thing." The lie came so easily it was almost beautiful. Almost. The party continued. Champagne flowed. People networked, performing their success for each other like trained seals. Amanda kept watching Sophia and Henry, a bad feeling growing in her stomach. She'd seen this before, women circling Henry like moths to a flame that would definitely burn them. Henry had a pattern. Amanda had heard the stories whispered over brunch, shared in bathroom stalls at events like this. He collected ambitious women, promised them access to his world, paraded them around for a few weeks, then discarded them the moment they got too comfortable. Too attached. Too real. At 10:47, Henry climbed onto a small platform near the bar and clinked his champagne glass. The room quieted. Amanda's hand tightened around her own glass. "Everyone, I want to introduce someone special," Henry announced, his voice carrying that casual authority rich men mistake for charisma. He extended his hand toward Sophia, who stepped forward, beaming. "This is Sophia, who's been auditioning to be my girlfriend." Amanda watched Sophia's smile freeze. Watched the word auditioning hit her like a slap. The room had gone silent. Someone coughed. A phone camera flash went off. Henry continued, oblivious or indifferent to the tension. "She's been incredible, available, attentive, willing to cut loose any dead weight holding her back." He looked directly at Sophia and his smile had edges. Very dedicated. It wasn't a compliment. Everyone in that room knew it. It was a performance of power, a public demonstration that Sophia had sacrificed her marriage for a man who saw her as an audition. As temporary. As replaceable. Amanda watched the color drain from Sophia's face. Watched her try to hold the smile, try to laugh like it was a joke, but her hands were shaking. People were already pulling out their phones, typing, whispering. In 3 minutes this would be on 5 group chats. In 10, it would be spreading through their entire social circle like wildfire. Sophia looked around the room, searching for an ally, for someone who didn't look at her with pity or judgment or cruel satisfaction. Her eyes landed on Amanda. Amanda looked away. She couldn't watch anymore. She slipped outside into the cool night air, her heart pounding with secondhand humiliation and growing horror. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found my number. We'd exchanged numbers at a barbecue 2 years ago, had texted occasionally about birthday gifts for Sophia, nothing substantial. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. What was she supposed to say? How was she supposed to tell me that my wife had just been publicly humiliated after asking me to pretend I didn't exist? She typed, "Jason, it's Amanda. Do you know what happened at the party?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then immediately typed again, "Call me. Now." Inside through the window she could see Sophia standing frozen on that platform, Henry already moving on to talk to someone else, the crowd dispersing and leaving her alone. Exposed. Abandoned. Amanda thought about calling Sophia. About going back inside and being a friend. But friendship requires honesty, and Sophia had been lying to everyone, including herself, for months. So Amanda stayed outside in the cold, waiting for me to respond, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything. Her phone buzzed. My reply, "What?" Amanda took a deep breath and started typing the truth. I was staring at the ceiling when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I almost didn't check it, figured it was Sophia calling from someone else's phone trying to get around the block. But something made me look. "Jason, it's Amanda. Do you know what happened at the party?" I sat up, the cheap mattress springs groaning. My heart started pounding before my brain caught up. I typed back, "What?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, "Call me. Now." I dialed. She answered on the first ring. "Amanda, what's going on?" "Jason." Her voice was shaky, breathless. "I'm so sorry. I should have called you sooner. I should have. God, I don't even know where to start." "Start anywhere." She told me everything. Henry's speech. The word, auditioning. The dead weight comment. Sophia's frozen smile. The phones coming out, the whispers, the photos already spreading across social media like a virus. I listened in silence, my free hand gripping the edge of the mattress. When she finished, I didn't say anything for a full 10 seconds. Then I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It came from somewhere deep and broken, the kind of laugh that happens when the worst thing you suspected turns out to be true. "She actually did it," I said quietly. "She burned it all down for a guy who was using her." "Jason, are you okay?" I looked at my wedding ring still on my finger out of habit. I pulled it off and set it on the nightstand next to my grandfather's watch. The tan line underneath was pale, ghostly. "I've never been more okay in my life," I said. And I meant it. Amanda was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. Absolutely nothing." I laid back down, the ring catching light from the parking lot. "She made her choice. Now she gets to live with it. She's going to call you. Probably already has." I blocked her. "Good," Amanda said firmly. "Jason, for what it's worth, a lot of us always thought you were too good for her. We just didn't know how to say it." After we hung up, I turned off my phone completely and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without waking up. I didn't turn my phone back on until noon the next day. When I did, it exploded with notifications. 47 missed calls from Sophia's number. 12 from her mother, Patricia. 8 from her sister, Claire. Voicemails filled my inbox like water flooding a sinking ship. I didn't listen to any of them. Just watched the numbers climb in my call log, each one a testament to panic I didn't cause and couldn't fix. There were texts too from before I'd blocked everyone. Sophia's ranged from furious to desperate. "Where are you? Jason, this is ridiculous. We need to talk right now. Please. I'm sorry. Please answer." Patricia's were more controlled but no less demanding. "Jason, whatever happened between you and Sophia, you need to be an adult about this." As if I was the one who'd needed a reminder about marriage vows. But it was the email from Claire that caught my attention. She hadn't been at the party, she lived 2 hours away, had a toddler at home, rarely made it to these things. The subject line read, "Please call me." I opened it. "Jason, please call me. I don't know what Sophia's saying, but I know her. Something happened. She's hysterical and won't tell us the truth. She keeps saying you abandoned her, that you're being cruel, but that doesn't sound like you. What's going on?" I replied, "Ask Amanda. She was there." I wasn't. I didn't elaborate. Didn't defend myself. If Claire wanted the truth, she could get it from someone who'd witnessed it. I was done explaining myself. I took a screenshot of the blocked call log, 47 attempts in 6 hours, and saved it to a folder labeled Evidence. Not for revenge. Not to hurt anyone. Just for proof. Just in case. Then I did something I hadn't done in 7 years. I went to a movie by myself. Bought popcorn I didn't have to share. Sat in the back row where no one could see me. Watched explosions and car chases and let my brain go completely blank. When I came out, the sun was setting. My phone had 16 new voicemails. I deleted them without listening and went to find an apartment. Claire showed up at my new apartment 3 days later. I'd signed the lease that morning. A 1-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, hardwood floors, good light. Nothing like the place Sophia and I had shared. That was the point. Amanda had given Claire my address. I wasn't angry about it. Claire had always been the good one in that family, honest, direct, no games. She was crying when I opened the door. "I'm so sorry," she said before I could even say hello. I didn't believe it at first, but I heard the recording. I saw the photos. "Jason, I'm so sorry." I made her tea. We sat at my new kitchen table, bought from IKEA that morning, still smelled like cardboard, and she told me everything. Sophia was spinning a narrative, that I was controlling, jealous, couldn't handle her having male friends. That I'd abandoned her at the party because I was insecure. That I was punishing her for being successful and social. But Amanda had sent Claire the audio recording she'd secretly made of Henry's speech. Patricia had heard it too. The truth was spreading faster than Sophia's lies. "Henry ghosted her immediately after the party," Claire said, wrapping her hands around the mug. "Blocked her on everything. She got fired from that freelance marketing gig because the client saw the photos and said reputation matters." She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "She's been begging Mom to help her get you back. Keeps saying you'll forgive her, that you always forgive her." "I won't." Claire nodded slowly. "I know. And honestly, you shouldn't." She took a shaky breath. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Were you happy? With her?" I thought about it. Really thought. I don't think I've been happy in 2 years. I just didn't know how to admit it. "She wasn't good to you," Claire said quietly. "We all saw it. We just didn't say anything because, I don't know why. Family loyalty, I guess. But you deserve better, Jason. You still do." As she left, she turned back at the door. "For what it's worth, you're the best thing that ever happened to her." She just didn't realize it until it was too late. The door closed. I stood in my empty apartment and felt nothing but relief. 4 months later, I met Hannah at a coffee shop 3 blocks from my apartment. It was a Saturday morning, unseasonably warm for October. I'd gone there to work on a project proposal, laptop open, noise-canceling headphones in. She sat down across from me without asking. All the other tables were full, balancing a latte and a leather portfolio. She had paint under her fingernails. Real paint, dried and cracked, not the kind you get from a one-time pottery class. "Sorry," she said, noticing me notice. "I'm a graphic designer. Comes with the territory." I pulled out one earbud. "No worries." She opened her laptop, and immediately her latte tipped. We both grabbed for it, knocked it further, and watched it cascade across the table toward my keyboard. I jerked my laptop up just in time. Coffee dripped onto the floor. "Oh my God," she said, mortified. "I'm so sorry, I'm such a disaster." But I was laughing. Actually laughing. "It's fine. Really." She insisted on buying me a replacement coffee. We ended up talking for 3 hours. Hannah didn't know about Sophia. Didn't know about the party or the divorce papers I'd filed or the wreckage of my old life. She just knew me as the guy who made terrible puns about espresso and lit up when he talked about coding. "So what do you call a programmer who doesn't comment his code?" I asked. "What?" "Unprofessional." She groaned, but she was smiling. "That's awful. I have worse. Please don't." But I did, and she laughed anyway, and when we finally left the coffee shop, she'd written her number on a napkin in purple ink. I went home and looked at that napkin for a long time. Thought about calling. Thought about all the reasons I shouldn't. Too soon, too complicated, too risky. Then I thought about my grandfather's watch and time I'd never get back. I called her that night. We talked until 2 a.m. 3 weeks later, we had our first date. 6 weeks after that, she stayed over and never really left. 6 months after the party, a letter arrived at my office. Handwritten address, Sophia's looping script. My assistant brought it to my desk with a curious look. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. "Jason, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a response. But I need you to know, I was selfish, cruel, and so deeply lost that I destroyed the only real thing I ever had. You gave me everything and I threw it away for a fantasy. Henry was using me. I was using you. And now I have nothing but regret and the memory of who I used to be before I became this person. I hope you're happy. Truly. You deserve it more than anyone I've ever known. I'm sorry. Sophia. I read it twice. Her handwriting was shakier than I remembered, less controlled. I could see where tears had smudged the ink on the word sorry. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Didn't reply. Didn't throw it away. Just filed it. Like closing a chapter in a book I'd already finished reading. Hannah found me staring at the drawer that evening. We were at my place, cooking dinner together. She was making pasta. I was supposed to be chopping vegetables but had gotten distracted. What's that? She asked, nodding toward the drawer. I closed it. Something that doesn't matter anymore. She studied my face for a moment, then kissed my forehead. Good. That night, I dreamed about my grandfather. We were on his porch, the one with the creaky boards and the view of nothing but trees, and he was smoking his pipe, the cherry tobacco smell mixing with pine. You know why I gave you that watch, son? He asked. I shook my head. Because time is the one thing you can never get back. She stole years from you, years you spent making yourself smaller. But you got out. That takes more strength than staying ever would. I woke up at 3:47 a.m., my face wet. But they weren't sad tears. They were relief, gratitude, freedom. I checked the watch on my nightstand, my grandfather's watch, still keeping perfect time, and didn't go back to sleep. Just sat by the window and watched the sunrise, thinking, I'm free. 8 months after the party, Hannah's design firm was sponsoring a charity gala. She'd asked me to come as her date, her hand squeezing mine nervously. I know these things aren't your favorite, but it would mean a lot. I'd learned to say yes to things that mattered to her. It was easy when someone actually valued your presence. The gala was at the same renovated loft where everything had ended. I hadn't been back since that night, and walking through those doors felt surreal. Different. The space looked smaller than I remembered. Hannah was radiant in a blue dress, laughing with colleagues, introducing me as my boyfriend Jason, with pride in her voice. No hiding. No distance. Just honest affection. That's when I saw her. Sophia stood across the room, alone, nursing a glass of wine. She'd lost weight, too much. Her dress hung wrong. Her hair was shorter, styled differently, like she was trying to become someone else. She looked hollow. Our eyes met. She froze, wine glass halfway to her lips. I could see the calculation in her face. Whether to approach. Whether to run. Whether to pretend she hadn't seen me. I gave her a small nod. Not cruel. Not kind. Just acknowledgement. I see you. You're a person who exists. And that's all you are to me now. Then I turned back to Hannah, who was laughing at something her colleague said, and put my arm around her waist, pulled her close, kissed her temple. When I glanced back, Sophia was gone. Hannah noticed me looking. You okay? Yeah, I said. And I was. Later, Amanda texted me, saw you at the gala. You looked happy. I replied, I am. She sent back, good. You deserve it. Outside, I didn't know, Sophia sat in her car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, crying. She'd come to the gala hoping to see me, hoping for a sign that maybe, somehow, there was a chance. But seeing me with Hannah, seeing me genuinely happy, lighter, more alive than I'd been in years, had killed that hope. She drove home to her mother's house, where she'd been living since I'd left, and cried herself to sleep. Inside, I danced with Hannah and didn't think about Sophia once. A week later, Amanda texted, Sophia's moving to Portland. Starting over. Thought you'd want to know. I was at brunch with Hannah, sharing an obscenely large stack of pancakes. I read the message twice, then typed back, I hope she finds what she's looking for. I meant it. Not because I forgave her. Not because I wanted her back. But because carrying anger was exhausting and I'd rather carry nothing at all. Everything okay? Hannah asked, fork paused midair. Yeah. Just closure I didn't know I needed. That night, lying in bed, Hannah asked me the question I'd been waiting for. Do you ever regret leaving her? I thought about it. Really thought. No. I regret staying as long as I did. But leaving? That was the first honest thing I'd done in years. She snuggled into my chest, her hair smelling like coconut shampoo. I'm glad you left. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. I kissed the top of her head. Me too. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. Sophia didn't contest anything. Signed the papers through her lawyer, took her stuff from storage and disappeared to Portland without a word. Patricia called me once, ostensibly to apologize. I should have seen what she was doing to you, she said. I should have said something. It wouldn't have mattered, I told her. I had to see it myself. Claire sent a Christmas card to my new address. Inside she'd written, "Thank you for being kind even when you didn't have to be. Wishing you every happiness." I put it on my fridge right next to a photo of Hannah and me at the beach, both of us windswept and laughing. Life moved forward. Work picked up. I got promoted. Hannah and I adopted a cat named Pixels who had anxiety and only trusted me. We hosted dinner parties, took weekend trips, built something real. And Sophia became a story I told sometimes, when people asked about my first marriage. Not with bitterness. Just facts. We grew apart. It ended. I'm better for it. 1 year after the party I was packing boxes again. But this time I was moving into Hannah's place, our place now. Combining lives, combining futures. I found the wedding photo at the bottom of a box I'd forgotten about. Sophia and me, young and hopeful and so goddamn naive. I looked at it for a long moment, remembering who that man was. Someone who thought love meant sacrificing yourself. Someone who confused quiet suffering with commitment. Hannah walked in carrying a box of kitchen stuff. "You okay?" I showed her the photo. "This is who I used to be." She looked at it, then at me. "You look different now." "I am different." I placed the photo in a donation box. "I don't want to be that person anymore." "Good," she said, smiling. "Because I really like who you are now." I pulled my grandfather's watch from my pocket. I'd been carrying it more lately, a reminder. My grandfather told me time is the one thing you can never get back. I wasted years on someone who didn't value it. Hannah looked confused. Then I got on one knee. Her hands flew to her mouth. "Jason. I don't want to waste another second," I said. The ring box opened with a soft click. "Hannah, will you marry me?" She was crying, nodding, pulling me up to kiss me before I could even finish. Yes. Yes. God, yes. We stood in that half-packed room, surrounded by boxes and possibilities, and I thought about the night Sophia had asked me to pretend we weren't together. How that moment had felt like an ending. It wasn't an ending. It was permission. Permission to choose myself. To walk away from things that diminished me. To find someone who celebrated me instead of tolerating me. 6 months later, Hannah and I got married in a small ceremony. Amanda was there, sitting front row. Claire came with her family. My co-workers, Hannah's friends, people who actually knew us and loved us. Sophia wasn't invited. I heard through Claire that she was doing okay in Portland. Therapy, new job, slowly rebuilding. I hoped that was true. I genuinely did. But she wasn't my concern anymore. My concern was the woman in the white dress walking toward me, eyes shining, smile real. My concern was the life we were building, brick by brick, with honesty and trust and actual partnership. The officiant asked if I took Hannah to be my wife. I thought about my grandfather's watch in my pocket. About time I'd never get back. About time I still had ahead of me. "I do," I said. And I meant it.